The GT Championship is the premier sports car category in Australia. The world's best supercars are right here. And today, they're not just on display. They'll be racing door to door. So stand by. This could get expensive. Man! That was crazy. That was huge. Hi everyone and welcome to the streets of Adelaide, the Clipsal 500 for round one of the Vodka Australian GT Championship. I've got a good co-driver today too, Stephen Johnson from Jim Beam Racing. These are the cars that we grew up with on our bedroom walls at home with posters and the like. We dreamt of owning them and we're still dreaming.
Yeah, we are still dreaming, Noons. I definitely haven't got the money to have one of these in my garage, although I'd love to have just about every car out there. Fantastic category, really good to see the size of the category growing year to year here. Although there's probably more money at stake out there than there is in our V8 Supercar series, so it's fantastic to watch.
The beauty of this championship is it's run to GT3 specifications, which means you can take your car from here in Australia, race it in Europe, or come from Europe and race here in Australia. There's 7 rounds in 2011, so let's take a look who's driving what. Reigning champion David Wall has moved on, so the crown as Australian GT champion remains up for grabs in this year's series. In form already is Audi racer Mark Eddy, after finishing second in an Audi 1-2 at the recent Bathurst 12-hour with teammates Craig Lowndes and Warren Luff. But he's perhaps more famous thanks to his car's debut here last year.
Last year we had a little touch on the wall here. There was quite a few YouTube hits, I believe, on people seeing it. Look, I've learned a lot just more about how the car operates. It's going to really help me this year, what I learned in, that Bathurst 12-hour, and hopefully, I get some really good results in 2011.
Tony Quinn's back this year, and at this round is armed with an Aston Martin. Quinn finished last season with 4 straight race wins, but Adelaide doesn't hold happy memories.
The best thing about this car is that I haven't crashed it yet. That's the best thing about it. And I don't want to. I think it's going to be difficult to win the championship if you miss a round or miss a race. So I think consistency is going to be the key. And my consistency rate is probably on the low end. So I think I'll just go for it while I can, because I don't think I'll make the whole season without having a crash.
This weekend's race format sees a sprint race and a 1-hour race with co-driver optional. That means Jason Richards will make a guest appearance in his first race since November and co-drive a Ferrari with its owner Peter Edwards. And former GT champ Alan Simonson is back in Adelaide too, to co-drive with Nico Halloran in another 430 GT3 Ferrari. This year the challenge and production classes have been merged into one. Among the regular Porsche and Lotus runners comes something new to the Australian series, a British-built Ginetta.
It's a V6 Ford engine. It's a European car. Basically, it's packed with a lot of aerodynamics. Plenty of traction on the ground sort of thing with the large tyres that it has. Just enables you, with the extra aero package to go a lot deeper under brakes and carry a little bit more corner speeds. I think we'll be looking at a podium finish by the time the weekend's over. So we're certainly pushing for it.
So pick your dream car and strap on the Michelins. A new year of GT racing is ready to run.
The first outing of the year was a timed hour-long event, with racing starting at dusk and continuing into the night.
5 different cars in the top 5 positions on the grid. Clark Quinn on pole. The Mosler gets going from the rolling start. And a new season of GT racing is away. 60 minutes with a compulsory pit stop. Down to the first chicane. You've got to be so careful here. It's a long race.
Well, it is, mate. It's an hour long. You don't want to be doing too much silly stuff here on the first part of this lap.
Oh,
Tony Quinn
making a lunge on Kevin Weeks, makes a mistake and tags the wall on the way through to turn 4.
You can just see him there, very bumpy going into turn 4 there. The car skipped sideways, he couldn't recover it in time, straight into the inside wall, and there's heavy damage on that right front tyre.
He rejoins among the class cars. Let's have a look again. Plenty of bumps here on the inside, and that one catches him out.
Absolutely, and you can actually see in the foreground there, as this was happening, Clark Quinn, massive right front lock-up going into turn 4 there too, so let's hope he doesn't damage that tyre.
Love hearing the mixture of machines in GT racing. But out in front, Clark Quinn leads the way in the Mosler. Greg Crick second, who's back for another year in the Viper, the former champion, and Mark Eddy, the Audi R8, closing right in.
Mark's looking racy here. It looks like he wants to really have a good go at Greg Crick and get past him.
Here he comes, turn 14, it is on. Crick, oh, there's a bit of contact there too.
Absolutely, you can just see the damage on the left-hand rear of Mark Eddy's car. A bit of smoke coming out there, and the damage on the right front of Greg Crick's car. So certainly not something that you needed starting a 1 hour long race.
Kevin Weeks sits in 4th place in the Superlock Lamborghini. Then Dean Grant, who's driving a Porsche after his Mosler was badly damaged at Bathurst. Here's the replay, and it's just a little bit of overlap.
Absolutely, you can see the bumper there.
Oh, that's the Ferrari. Yeah, that's the Simonson car of Nick O'Halloran, who started the race, and Tony Quinn's managed to get the Aston Martin back to pit lane.
I'd be very surprised if there wasn't quite a bit of suspension damage to that. You can see the bodywork damage, but the bodywork on these things are all carbon fibre.
Just a few laps later, the racing continued, and right from the outset, the pace was frantic.
Back to green, and Clark Quinn leads us away in the Mosler. 5 different cars in the top 5 positions. Great advertisement for GT racing. And have a look at this. This is Peter Hackett making a big lunge in the Lamborghini for Vodka Row. This is a fill-in car, remember. His regular car still being repaired from that crash at Sandown late last year. And now Dean Grant falling back into the clutches of Ash Samardi's Mosler. That smoke from the left rear of the Audi has got to be a real worry. It doesn't seem to have got any better.
It hasn't actually, but you know, if he can just hang on to it until he gets to the pit stop, they might be able to pull it off the tyre and he'll be able to finish the race.
There's a mistake, the little Lotus of Angelo Lazaris, the GT3 Exige, runs a little bit wide at turn 9.
Oh, it's getting busy up here.
Great mix here. Geordie Ormsby's in there in the RSR Porsche. Damien Flack in the 997 Cup car.
It didn't take long before there were several more casualties.
Problem for Peter Hackett, limping to pit lane, and you know whether it's right front, it's suspension, it's steering, it could be a bit of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see the front wheel moving out and in. I don't know if he might have touched the wall there coming out of one of the terraces, but there's massive right front damage for Hackett.
And Peter Edwards brings the Ferrari into pit lane, and this looks quite terminal.
You're hearing that doesn't sound very good when you're hearing those clunks there. They definitely shouldn't be there, and this is obviously Jason Richards' car, so let's hope they can get it out so Jason can actually get a drive.
Looks like there's a pretty serious front-end drama with car 17, and Jordan Ormsby heading to pit lane with smoke pouring everywhere from the Porsche RSR.
You can see the front splitter there, Aaron. Not quite sitting right. Here we go here.
Either he's bumped it on the tyre bundle or perhaps the curbs and dislodged it, and this is what happened. Oh, plenty of fluid everywhere and radiator coolant.
The radiators are located behind the front bumper bar on these cars, so one small little touch, you can see it here, there's water coming out from behind the bar everywhere.
As the skies grew darker, on the track it became almost impossible to tell the front runners from the lapped traffic.
Lights ablaze as Clark Quinn tries to get around Ash Samardi, but the lap Mosler's having none of it.
Ash mustn't know that these guys here are actually racing for the lead. He must think that they're actually positioned on the racetrack, which is why he's making it so hard for them to pass.
Now Quinn was slow on the exit of the hairpin, and that gives Eddie a run. Not quite able to get through. What a sight. Racing under lights here in Adelaide.
It was a gripping finish to the hour-long sprint, with the first 2 cars separated by the smallest of margins.
What a classic fight this has been. Clark Quinn is going to get home and win his first ever Australian GT Championship race, and does it by the narrowest of margins as the fireworks go off here on the streets of Adelaide. Greg Crick home in 3rd place. Dean Grant and Daniel Gaunt in the Porsche. They ran it at the top 4. Ash Samardi was 1 lap down, but probably thought he was actually in this motor race. He ends up 5th, but Clark Quinn managed to drive his way through the darkness and the different conditions to get the victory.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad until after I did the pit stop. Once I come out, I just realised how dark it was, as if someone turned the lights off while I was in the pits. So when I come out, it was just incredibly dark, and it took me a couple of laps to get my bearings again. The last 10 minutes was interesting, trying to get through some lap traffic. But anyway, we got there in the end and come out on top, so it was good.
Stick around, there's more exotic racing after the break.